Hi, this is Miriam, and you're welcome to Journeys with Podcast episode 11. How are you guys doing? Journeys with Podcast went on a little hiatus and we are back with brand new episodes. Journeys with is a podcast which reunites. It's about people and their journeys through life. I believe everyone has a story. We all have a story, and it's amazing what can take place when we let someone share their stories. So many things have changed in the last few months. Life has changed. I heard someone say that 2020, with all that it has come with, has forced the world to look at things properly, and that this year has exposed things that were already there, but that society may have been too busy, quote unquote, to acknowledge before. For the next 3 to 4 episodes, I will invite individuals to share their stories on my podcast in regards to race, culture, self-acceptance, growing up in Britain as a black person, and more. Today, I have Bola with me. Her full name is Omobola. She's multi-talented, artistic and creative person, a singer, a songwriter. She does it all. She lives in Scotland. She's African like me, only that I'm Ghanaian and she's Nigerian. But it's the same with soul siblings. And I wanted to have her on the podcast for her to share experiences being, a minority in an industry often dominated by people who are not black. I'm also curious to hear about her dual culture, being British and Nigerian. And I don't even like to say you're a minority, Bola, because you are more than that. You're amazing. We have to use the word minority, but you are more than that. We are more than just minorities.
We are more, honestly, the only reason I believe they use it is just because we're less in this country.
We are less,
but
yeah.
If we were in Africa, we'd be the majority, right?
Exactly, right? So,
Yeah.
Hi, Bola. Welcome to Journeys with Podcast.
Hello, Miriam. Thank you. Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
How do you feel being here? How do you feel like? Is it your first interview? Or I don't even like to say it's an interview. Is it your first one?
Yeah, well, I've had a couple in the past. One was like for TV. There was like some singing show, and I was just asked questions about. It was a dating show, so I was asked questions about
I saw that
like my
on your Instagram
romance and yes, I did upload the episode. Yeah. That was funny. So yes, I have had a bit of experience being interviewed.
Yeah. So for those who are wondering, oh my gosh, Miriam, you went to Scotland? You went to Scotland, Miriam? No, guys. You know what? We thank God for technology. But I'm not gonna lie.
God.
It feels good to speak to someone without a mask, even if it's through a video call. It feels good.
I'm honestly, I'm like, you're my good friend, so it's it's easy to just like chat.
Yeah. So I guess the first question that I will ask you, Bola, is how do you identify as? Do you identify as a Nigerian? Do you identify as a Scottish? Do you identify as just British? Even do you identify as Black British? Do you even like the term Black British?
Black British. I've never actually thought about it, whether I like it or not. I do identify myself as Black British or British-Nigerian because, I believe Britain, like me growing up in Britain, it has become my nationality. And also I'm also Nigerian. I have Nigerian parents, so it also makes me equally Nigerian as British.
So tell me a little bit about like where you were born and when you moved to Scotland, because I know were you born in North London?
So my parents moved here like over 25 years ago. They met in London.
Moved here to Scotland 25 years ago.
Oh no, I'm sorry. They moved to London 25 years ago.
Okay.
And then so they had myself and my siblings. I moved from North London, to South East London when I was 4, and then I spent most of my years in Southeast London, and then I moved to Scotland when I was 17.
Okay, so right, so tell me about like the move to Scotland, because I don't want to say it's random because it's your journey, right? But it's like okay, so it's like you are living in London, you're a London girl, and then all of a sudden, let's move to Scotland. So how did it happen? What happened at 17? What made your family move to Scotland?
Yeah, so yeah, I think you're right. It is a random move, after living in London for so many years.
Yeah.
But so basically, my mum had a friend who was who actually came from London, and she moved to Scotland. And she was, speaking with her, talking about the free tuition fees that are offered to students after they've lived there for 3 years and above. And my mom was interested in the idea. She wanted, obviously free tuition, uni tuition fees for myself and my brother, who were about to enter uni. Yeah, she thought about it, and she thought, she's tired of London.
What was she tired
London.
of? Like, what is that about London that makes you think, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm actually going to move to Scotland? What was she tired of seeing in London?
I suppose like congestion. Like, London is so busy, and
Yeah, it's true.
there's not, you don't really have time to like relax, just chill. So I think that was part of it, and also like the opportunity to like get free tuition fees. It was a good time to move.
Right. Ultimately,
Basically.
you can say that your mom kind of made the decision for her kids. A bit of sacrifice as well. Like, you know what, for my kids, also because
Definitely.
of the financial thing, but it's also because she was thinking of you guys, when it comes to school and, not wanting to have that kind of, burden. And she was thinking of you guys. You can see that as a sacrifice of some sort.
Oh, it's for sure. Yeah, she definitely sacrificed her job for us.
Wow.
And yeah, she was, she had a good, lucrative job in nursing.
Wow.
And
In London before she moved, isn't it?
that's right, in London. And then, when we moved to Scotland, she didn't actually have a job for a few, at least a good few months, about 8 months.
Wow.
So yeah, before she actually got her first shift. So
Wow.
you're definitely right when you say it's a sacrifice.
What was the experience like when you moved to Scotland? From being in London, going to Scotland, what was your experience like? Did you, before you moved, know a little bit about Scotland, or you knew nothing about it?
That's the thing. I knew nothing about Scotland. I was just like, funny enough, there was like, I did a little like a short play like with my youth group back in London, and I think I put on a Scottish accent, but I didn't even know how Scottish people sounded. I just said, "Oh, I'm Scottish" or something
Oh
like
my
that.
God. Life is funny.
Yeah, and funny. Life is very funny. Yeah, I didn't know that. Like, who knew that years later I'd be going to to live there, or here, I should say. Yeah, so I had no idea. Just when my mom said we're moving, I was just like, oh, what a new adventure.
And now you're 25, isn't it?
Yes, I am.
You're 25, and it's like, when you moved there, did you have the London girl tag on you, or did you have the whole black? Did you have the black girl tag on you? Like, oh my gosh, can I touch your hair?
Oh, so the transition, yeah, was definitely like, all eyes were on me, because like there were very few blacks in Scotland. In 2012 we moved, so there were quite a few blacks there, and you could count the amount of black people on your fingers. Like, literally,
Seriously?
it was definitely very scarce at the time. There's much more now than there were, but yeah, so like I definitely felt a bit like, all eyes were on me, and people were very
Especially
interested
when you're
to
from
get to know
London,
me.
especially when you're from London and you see black people and everywhere, and it's very multi-ethnic, and then you go to Scotland and it's like, I'm only
Oh
there
yeah.
aren't many black people here.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a difference in, like demographic, should I say. It was very weird to adjust to at first, But I mean, now I'm very much used to it. When I even moved to London, I'm like, oh, it's so busy here. You know, almost as if I never lived in London.
But did you have any experiences of people, you know, just looking at you like, oh my gosh, you're not really from here? Like,
So I did have a few, yes, I did have a few microaggressions, yeah, if you, so to speak. But I didn't actually think it was that. I just thought people were just admiring me. And also, like, people would make comments like, oh, she's so gorgeous, or maybe like, oh, you look different with this, like, because I used to change my hair, you know, us Black girls, we love to change our hairstyles, and we sort of have to because of our, you know, trying to protect our hair. And so I remember whenever I had a new hairstyle, they'll think, oh, well, you look different. So yeah, I did get, you know, quite a few comments, you know, going to school and going to work as well.
I guess it's not the whole, you know, because when people talk about, you know, the whole "can I touch your hair" thing, is like, I guess it depends on your perspective, because people say that feeling like this makes you feel like the odd one out. Why can't I just be myself without people looking at me like, oh my gosh, this girl, oh my gosh, look at this girl who is here, who's got new hair, oh my god. You don't want to have
Yeah.
center of attention because of what is so natural to you. So I guess, you know, I mean, there are different ways to look at it, because sometimes you just want to leave and do what you do. You don't want to be looked at in a certain way. And sometimes it's like, oh, maybe they're just loving my hair, but it's...
you know, I had different, like, moments of, you know, or different feelings towards those comments. So like, as you mentioned, like oh, like all the attention is on me, and then there are other times that I felt like, oh, I'm, you know, singled out, and, you know, people appreciate my, yeah, exactly. It felt special, and I felt appreciated more than other people. Possibly, I suppose it just depended on how I felt that day. Possibly.
Right. You know,
Yeah.
I have met people in the UK who don't live in London. I live in London, and, you know, people that are, you know, Africans and Black like me as well. And I just know that there's this reality that as a, you know, Black person or as an African living outside London is a lot more harder. I faced that as a person born in France. It's a lot more harder to access products for Black people. I don't want to say Black product, but, you know, hair relaxer or hair for braids, or if, you know, even getting different ingredients to make our different foods, knowing that the price is 10 times more expensive outside of London to get the basic stuff to make our African dishes. Do you have that, or do you experience that in Scotland, where things for you as a Black person that you need is just ridiculously more expensive, or it's just that many shops that cater to what you need? Do you feel that?
Yes, most definitely. In Edinburgh, there's only quite a few African food stores. In fact, I think there's actually about 2 in Edinburgh.
Yes, oh my god.
This is very limited, and yes, food is often pricey. Some ingredients are like the same price as it's like priced the same as foods in London, but I think the most foods are priced higher. You know, when I'm trying to get plantain, or my mother's trying to get plantain, she'll find that it's like maybe like £3 more than it would be in London.
It's interesting, you know, because like everything is the same price except these ingredients, except these staple foods. Because bread is the same price, milk is the same price, but then plantain is 10 times more expensive. Hair relaxers are 10 times more expensive. Hair for braids. Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I'd say maybe it's because you know, could be to do with the fact that there aren't many Africans in the country, and like in Scotland, and perhaps like they need to sell it at a higher price so they can get...
It's a bit like exploiting in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's quite unfair, really. I actually don't know the real answer or the truth, but I have a feeling it might be to do with the fact that there's a scarcity of Black people in countries or cities outside of the main cities.
And, you know, that made me think a little bit, Bola. this what I'm talking about, it made me think that if as a nation you say that you are inclusive, there's racial equality, what is it that, you know, me as a British person, I'm not British, but what about you? Like, why is it that you as a British person, because the fact that you're black doesn't mean that you're not British. You are British. Being British is
Yes.
also
Yeah.
being white as being black. Being British is also being Indian if you were born there, as it is being Asian.
That's right.
And so why is it that as a black British person, things that I need are 10 times more expensive just because of my race when I'm British? So is that fair at all? When I think about it, is that fair?
It's quite unjust in a way.
Yeah.
I think it's, you know, from the get-go, we've always had it harder, like
Right.
10 times harder than our white
Yeah.
counterpart. It's a shame. I think that's where us being a minority comes into play.
Even before this anti-racism thing happened, you know, in terms of anti-racism protests, and, you know, it was always there. But, you know, this year, I guess people know spoken more about it. People got to know a little bit more about it. It's a thing where there are
Yeah.
people who say, you know, British people, like Britain is a diverse place, like black, ethnic minority, BME, we're all the same and stuff. But then you look at situations like this and it's like, we actually not, because things are just more expensive. It's not only until recently that, you know, there were different shades for black people when it comes to makeup. It's not until recently that things, I guess, have started to change in some way. And it's like there's no racial equality. There's no things that I want to get as a black person in Scotland. It's just 10 times harder for me to get. And then you're talking about the fact that I'm British and I'm included. It's very ironic.
It's very ironic.
But, you know, it's interesting because until recently, me, I'm the kind of person, I think you're like that as well. I'm a very positive person. I'm a very positive person. I don't go
Oh,
somewhere.
yes.
I rarely go to places and think I'm black. I really don't think I'm just Miriam. I don't go somewhere to think, what is it that I've experienced that, you know, was traumatizing, that I can remember, that was racist. I don't think like that. It's not until, you know, the recent event I've had to think about my own experiences, and I've had to analyze and think, what is it that growing up I considered normal, but thinking about it wasn't normal? Do you feel like you've had to do this introspective work about what is it that I've been through that have led me to the person that I am today?
Yeah, honestly, I totally agree with you. Like, I mean, I go about my day normally, you know, before the whole George Floyd situation and like more racism attacks getting filmed, you know, I'd go about my day and I would say that I'm one of those people who have not really experienced racism on a grand scale.
Right.
So I never thought of myself to be like, I never considered myself, or I paid attention to being black until before the whole situation. But yeah, like yourself, I actually kind of had to think about it more. Like, have I actually experienced racism? You know, a lot of black people, I mean, this is the period that a lot of black people have come out with stories of, you know, racism in their schools, at work, their experiences. And it's been like, wow, like I actually have experienced similar things. And, you know, and it's a shame that you have to it's a shame that people had to come out about it before you could realize that you know, you've experienced it yourself, sort of thing.
I completely relate. I completely relate, because it's a thing where sometimes when you're brought up, when you're growing up and you experience certain things, it's a thing of living as a minority. That's what it is. When you grow up, especially with parents that have had to work hard to get to where they are, in your mind, even if you experience difficulties, it's part of the normality, because you think that's what I have to go through because I am of a certain different race. And so it's like you consider it normal. Even me, I've experienced certain comments of being the only black person in the room, but it's normal for me, because it's like that's how it's always been for me. So it's not until you hear people's experiences that you're like, yo, what that teacher told me growing up, or that person that told me that I can't come to a house because I'm black, that was not right. That
Yeah,
was not
right.
right.
Yeah.
I had to think about that was not right, Miriam. So it's like it's just so normal for us. So maybe it's because I don't know, we just thick skinned in some way.
Yeah, we've been through it so much for it to become like numb to us. Like it's numb to us now.
Right.
And I totally think that's the reason why we don't like kind of we're not so like
Vocal.
annoyed about it or vocal. Yeah. It took like racism, like police brutality being filmed to like make us understand that we have not been given our equal rights, or we've not been treated the same as our white counterparts.
Right. But that may not be someone coming up to us and calling you, oh, you black. It might not even be that. It's also in the fact that, you know, when you talk about the beauty industry, the different shades that not until Fenty Beauty came out and then, you know, catered for all our needs in some way. Or, you know, talking about Scotland and how, you know, some things are more expensive, or, you know, it's hard for you to get to, you know, that's racial inequality.
It's subconscious racism.
Yeah. Constant reminders that you are not part of us. You are a minority. You are a minority.
Yes.
You are a minority.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's because it, you know, from the get-go, from the slavery days, we've always been kind of like brainwashed to feel like we are less than and second degree.
And you're talking about slavery, but in regards to us being, you know, obviously in regards to us being Africans, like second generation of Africans, we're talking about colonialism. Even that I've had to do some research about colonialism and the impact that it may have on the way that we as Africans think about ourselves right now. The whole colorism thing about, you know, why is being fair better than being dark? Where is that coming from?
It's just all these stereotypes and also labels that have been placed on us. Of course, it's not true, but that's what has been, you know, pumping the media. It's been pumping the society.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way people see it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so unfortunate, like it's how we've got here.
But, you know, I would like to say also that, you know, that not every ethnic person from ethnic minority, or not every black person listening may feel discriminated against. Not everyone that is black feel like, oh my gosh, I can relate to these. But the fact that you don't, or the fact that you're not black and you haven't heard of your friend facing this stuff, doesn't make someone else's experience invalid. You know, I've had to understand that I may not have experienced it, but it doesn't mean that it's not true. It doesn't mean that I feel equal. It doesn't mean that things are, you know.
Right. Racism is as real as it can get.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Let's talk about your gifts. Let's talk about your gifts, your passions, your talents, because you do so many things.
Oh wow.
So tell me, how did it start?
Flattered. How it started? Well, I was very young when I realized my passion for music and drama. I always say this. My mom said that she told me that I started singing from the age of 2. Wow. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I can't remember that far down, but I know I do remember putting on performances in front of my parents and like watch it whilst I was like standing in front of the TV screen watching music videos. I'd like sing along to them. Wow. You know, so I believe it's always been a part of me, you know, from a young age. I know, you know, you get a lot of musicians and artists who say that you know, it's been a part of them from young, and it really is the case. You know, I think it's definitely something that most people find when they're young. Like,
so is it a thing where like performing has always been part of you? Is it something that you've always loved performing?
Yeah, definitely. I actually took part in talent shows whilst I was at primary school. The passion was there, and I went on doing more shows in secondary school, singing in assemblies. Like, I just continued until so when I was about to pick my GCSEs, my parents actually told me, like, you have to pick serious subjects.
Yeah.
So with our African parents, it's quite, if we were to pick a non-academic subject, it could be deemed as, like, it's not going to get you a good job and things like that, which is sort of true. But at the same time, if you're passionate about it, you never know where arts related subjects take you, or careers, sorry, can take you.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember my dad especially saying that I should pick business and law subjects. So which, right, yeah. And I was like, I don't really want to do law or business, like
it wasn't your
history.
passion.
Exactly, it just wasn't my passion. So after secondary school, I did do like a course in events management, and then I wasn't like really interested in that either. So funny enough, my mum, she drove past a performing arts college in Edinburgh. She was like, when she got home, she asked me like to sign up for it, and I did. So I did like an acting audition, and I sang a song. I got into the performing arts school. It was actually my performing arts school, my qualification in the performing arts school, that actually helped me to get into uni. With modeling, I've always wanted to model. Like, growing up, I watched a lot of America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks. I just thought, oh yeah, let me go for this local fashion show in Edinburgh. I remember wanting to do it because, like, I wanted to be confident, and because I did lack a lot of confidence back then. Ironically enough, I think there was this side of me that just felt like very shy and anxious. Of course, I've overcome that since then. I've been doing a lot more shows, and the more you do it, the more confident one becomes.
I think people who do theater or acting is extremely courageous to do this job, to show that vulnerability and to be angry and to show your anger, because you have to be vulnerable.
Yes, you do have to kind of tap into like emotions that you may not usually experience or express, and then sometimes it might be easier for you to put on some emotions, like with yourself, maybe being happy and bubbly. I can actually relate with that. Yeah, that's the challenge, but at the same time, it actually has been like a blessing, because you kind of experience different kind of parts of you, because and it, in a sense, you're not really losing yourself if you can go into like different parts of you, within a character.
So we spoke about it earlier a little bit, but it's like, for me, I feel like as a Black person, even as Black people, I feel like we always have this inner knowing that to succeed in a country that you were born in, but that that you're a minority in, you have to work 10 times harder. This is something that I feel a lot of us, especially from parents that are African immigrants or immigrants in general, we just had this knowing, just like being a woman, people telling you that, not even people telling, just knowing that you have to work 10 times harder. Have you felt that?
I have indeed. With my job, as a model, like I can give an example actually. So I was casted for a makeup shoot in Glasgow, and it was going well. It was like I was told the date and time, and then like a few days later, my agent had to break it down to me that I can't. I'm not going to be needed again, because they can't do well. You can guess that because I'm Black. Well, she didn't put it that way, but of course. But she said that they unfortunately the makeup artists do not work with Black skin tone or dark skin tones. I had to kind of be taken off the list of people.
This is ridiculous.
Models. Yeah.
How sad.
It's It's pretty, like, it's kind of discouraging. Yeah, I can
Extremely.
definitely put it that way. Yeah, there's lots of stories like that where I've just been like,
Tell
kind
me
of
about them. Tell me
knocked
about
off.
them. Because something as
Yeah.
easy as makeup, oh, we don't know how to work with your skin tone, so sorry, we're not
Mhm.
going to give you that role. This can be very hard for you, especially because you're on your way to, reaching your. How did you feel?
Oh, but definitely felt I definitely felt like discouraged, and I felt like it kind of knocked my self-esteem. Um, you know, just thinking, oh, because I'm black, like I will never like meet the beauty standards. The media always like kind of makes that known to us anyway. Like we black women, you unless you're like really tall and you got maybe some European features,
Right.
like a pointy nose or something, you don't meet the beauty standards.
Mm.
I and it kind of reinforced that for me when I wasn't selected.
If you were white, you wouldn't have that problem.
Exactly. Like they've always got provisions for white people, and like I mean, I can't say that they meant it to maliciously, but I felt like obviously it was because I was black,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, just that maybe they may have not meant it, but it just reinforces the fact that
Mm.
there's not enough catering to
Right.
us as black
Right.
people,
Right. Right.
or in this situation, black models. I I also had another audition, but this time an acting role, um, and it seemed like the judges liked me. I was the only black person as well. This is in Scotland here,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't get the role. I mean, again, so I can't really tell why, but I mean I can't really say that, oh, it was black and white. It's because I'm a black person they didn't pick me, but there are things around it that make me feel like it could be because I'm black, because I was the only black person there. It was mainly black. It was actually white judges. It's
Mm.
almost like a setup to fail in a way.
Mm. It's even just being the only black person in the room is just awkward. It's like, why? Why is it not a normality to have people from different minor ethnic backgrounds? It's just even that
Yeah.
awkwardness of being the only black in the room.
Oh, so many times. Yeah. I don't know if I've mentioned, but yeah, I think I've mentioned before, like, in Edinburgh, there's a scarcity of black people. So when you do get involved in these entertainment shows, or, even if you're just doing like little plays, you're always the minority. There's only maybe just one other black person other than yourself. And you're made to feel like, oh, you're different. Again, like they might not mean that in a bad way, but it's because of that kind of mindset.
The anti-racism protests and stuff have led a lot of people within the entertainment field to speak up. You've had, X Factor people come in and say it. Alexandra Burke, for example,
Right.
saying that she was told
Misha B. Yeah.
Alexandra was told that in order to appeal to the white audience, she may have to bleach her skin. You've had Misha
It's
B
crazy.
being given, I remember that instant on X Factor when she was, toned down, but because I was so young, I couldn't see what was going on. And it's like
Right.
you
Yeah.
you have Hollywood as well. There's an open letter that was signed by black and brown producers from Hollywood, targeting Hollywood and talking about how the systematic racism needs to end and different steps that can be taken to to have more inclusivity. And British film industry as well has done the same thing. And it's like,
Yeah.
we have a long way to go. Why do you think
Honestly,
diversity is important, Bola?
diversity is important too because of representation. Like people who watch the media, entertainment, they want to see people just like them, so they'll feel included. It's not just white people who watch
Oh,
films, Hollywood movies, but yeah, you see maybe 80% of the cast being white, apart from like a Black Panther, but yeah, definitely for the purpose of like representing the right people, you know. So it seems realistic. Not until we sort that out that can people ever really feel included and a part of society.
It's very interesting when I heard all these amazing celebrities that we love and admire. You know, Alexandra Burke, it took her like what, 6, 7, 8 years to come out and say it because she was scared of what she was going to lose. To add to your point about diversity representation, even to the Black girl at home who is small and thinking, oh my gosh, can I make it? Just seeing someone who looks like her on TV would inspire her. That alone.
Oh, definitely, because it's been shown to the masses. You know, people they feed from what they're seeing, and if they don't see someone like them, they're automatically going to think, oh, well, that means I'm not important. You know, it sends signals to the brain that they're just not as important. So it's really important. They're trying, they're getting better, but there's still there's a long way to go, as you mentioned.
Know what, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking what is the right solution? Because I'm sure, Bola, as an actress, as a singer, as all that you are, the reality is, as human beings, we don't want to be seen for our color alone. We don't want to be there and have someone say, we're hiring you because you're Black so that we look good. We don't want people to see us as, we're just going to hire you and nominate you just to look good, right? But at the same time, it's also important to see color, because people who say they don't see color, they're lying, because we all see color. Right. And I think I read an article which says that, what we should work on is our impulse when we see a certain race. It's not the fact that we don't see color, because we all do, right? So I'm like,
that's right.
What if directors are not intentional about having a diverse, list of actors? Then they will just hire people who look like them. So it's like, what do you think is the solution? Should you see color? Do you want to be seen as a Black actress, or you just want to be seen as an actress? But at the same time, you can't see that you don't want to be seen as Black because you are. So what is the right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of, I get that. It's very I think it will differ to different Black actresses out there, but for me, I want people to see that I'm Black, and but I want them to see me for my talent as well. I don't want it to be the center focus or the reason, as you said, why they would pick me. Like, I want it to be for my talent, but yes, I do want people to see, yes, I'm Black, but a Black person with talent, a Black person who can play like a lead role just as good as the white counterpart, and I want them to see the diversity that someone who is Black is not just playing the maid, or it's not just playing the like the comedic woman. I want them to see that a white person can play a person of status. A Black person can play as a person of status. And I mean, you are seeing that in movies now. I think of Taraji P. Henson. She's like, she tends to play like strong businesswomen, but and that's another like label they put on Black actresses, like strong and in like kind of like aggressive. And I mean, couldn't she be? I mean, there's nothing
That's
wrong
interesting
with being strong
what you're saying, because there's also this conversation about, is it actually good for the is the term strong Black woman a good term? There's also this conversation, people saying it's a good thing, but it's also not a good thing, because can I not just be a woman? Can I not just be a Black woman? Why do I have to be strong? So there's also this,
right? Yeah, that in itself, it kind of puts Black women in this box that like they have to be like strong, and there's nothing wrong with being a strong Black woman, right? But I think it's because it's connected to the fact that Black women had to back to the, dating back to the days of slavery, they've had to, they've had to, they are survivors of
Right.
rape. They're survivors of, really like,
Yeah.
tough treatment. So, because it kind of connects to that. That's why people don't like us black individuals or black women do not like the term. But I do think it's a good thing to be addressed as. But I think the problem lies where it's just like only to addressed to a black woman. Like, couldn't there be a white strong woman? Couldn't there be a white strong Asian? But like, it's a bit more touchy with the black person because of the history of the connection behind it.
And it's interesting what
the history behind it.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about the roles as well, because it's like, I guess also the problem is in terms of the stories that are written. The stories that are written, you don't want to be seen as an actress as someone who can only play one role. You want to be seen as an actress who can play different roles. So I guess the problem is when a director looks at a person who is black to just being able to act just a certain role, but not all roles, not all different roles, not a beautiful role.
It kind of limits them from being more, that they are definitely capable of being. Yeah.
But I guess also the thing is that people sometimes just don't know. And it's a thing where I think people naturally are drawn to what they're familiar with. So if you're a person who is white and you're middle class, of course, if you're a producer and you have a wonderful role out there, you would think about a white actor or white actress playing that particular character, because you don't have people around you who are from different backgrounds. So it's just it's racial bias, and sometimes I think it's unconscious.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, like, I don't think it's, because they want to be unfair, but it's because that's what all they know. Yeah, that's the issue. If they can put more people or seek for more people of diversity to join their team, maybe it can be there could be different casting, to what we're seeing.
Exactly. I guess that's why it's important to have this conversation, because sometimes people just don't know. A lot of people don't actually know what people are protesting.
Yeah, that's
the fact that we're talking right now, I guess I hope it will open people's minds, and that's why it's good to talk.
Very true, very true. People won't know unless someone mentions it, and that I'm so grateful for social media and what it's doing. Like, everyone's reposting, tweeting, like Black Lives Matter, and people are, really, trying to make people aware that, this racism, this thing called racism, is so real. And if we can put it, pump it into people's minds, the more they can learn things, and the better. And it's even teaching us as Black people too.
And there are people who are listening right now, and of course, you may not have you may not know what we're talking about, but we're not saying that. I have to say that we're not saying that all people are racist. I think that the point is not that. The point is that racial equality is important. As a Black person living in Scotland, I shouldn't have to go the extra mile just to buy something that fits me. I shouldn't have to struggle to find a shade that suits my skin. That's what we're talking about, is about racial equality. Ultimately, I think
definitely.
So, almost finally, Bola, how do you see the future of the industry now? How do you see the future of the industry in terms of, not just diversity, but, after 2020, what's going to happen?
Oh, well, I definitely can see that there will be an opportunity for, diversity in the creative industry, because people are talking about it. So I don't think it's going to go unnoticed. I think it might take a bit of time, because it's something that has been learned and for so long, and
it's institutional,
it's systemic. That's it. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. so like it's not going to be something that can change in a day, but I think small changes can be made. I mean, I do see that a lot of Black creative artists, they're going on, they're creating their own opportunities,
Right.
Which is really good. Like, I feel like that's the way, actually. We might as well make our own create our own opportunities.
Tyler Perry, for example.
Tyler Perry, yeah, right. He's, producer, writer, actor. He's doing it all, and he's learning the ropes, and he's showing other people who are aspiring producers to do the same. But yeah, I did want to add that point, like, just like aspiring artists out there, like, to create your own opportunity is the best way forward. If you don't see the opportunity, for example, musicians, create videos, create music, produce your own music. For actors, do your own monologues, post it. People will see it, and you never know where you can go. You just have to be consistent. Right. I've certainly not made it like yet, but I'm definitely, I really want to put content out there because I want to inspire, and right. I think the best way to do it is to just like create your own opportunities.
Right. So what message do you have, Bola, for the little girl that you were, who just loved acting, just very innocent, not, I probably didn't even think about the fact that I'm a minority, she just loved acting, she loved TV, she loved singing. What would you tell her? Would you tell her to still do it, to still pursue it?
Oh, most definitely. I would say to her, just continue with what you're doing. Don't let anyone bring you down. Like, it's easier said than done, but honestly, if you don't let anyone bring you down, you can definitely make it. Just know your worth as well, that you are amazing, you are loved, you are able, you've got it within you. So just go for it. Don't let anyone take that away from you. I wish I told myself this when I was younger, but yeah, I'm doing it now, and I believe that little girls out there can certainly do the same.
So what's going to happen? What's next for you, Bola, in terms of your career? Because I'm sure, now we're talking about, the difficult times and racism and stuff. I'm sure you've had, wonderful moments that you can recall about opportunities that that were given to you, that you cooked, so what's next for you?
What's next for me? I would say definitely, creating more music, composing, writing, getting into the studio, hopefully touring with my songs, in different locations, like doing little singing gigs, perhaps getting into acting as well, professionally.
Right.
I would love to do that. Yeah.
You know what I was going to say? I was going to say, you know what? I surrender, pun intended. I surrender, pun intended. I'm giving you the next 5 minutes or more to just tell me about where people can find you, your works, your new music, and your project. That's what I was going to say, but I missed that.
Well, thank you. I am. Yes, so I've got two new singles out, You Ain't Got the Right and I Surrender. They're streaming on all platforms, music platforms such as Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, and please watch it on YouTube. YouTube is free, so if you like it, then you can stream it.
What's your Instagram's name?
Is at Omobola Okeowo.
Just find her on Journeys with Podcast. I would definitely put a link to her Instagram. So Bola, in terms of what would you want your legacy to be? You're doing acting, you're doing all these wonderful things, but I'm sure there's a reason why you're doing it. There's something that inspires you to do it. So when you leave the earth one day, what do you want people to remember you as in your works?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, my vision is to dominate the arts, particularly in music and acting. Yeah, I know, it's such a big dream. Like they always say, if you want to dream, if you got to dream, dream big. Like so, what I mean by dominate is like to take charge of the industry, like really having such an influence over the industry, and inspiring people who may not have had that confidence to do the same, or do whatever they're doing. Yeah, I definitely want to leave a mark in the area of music and acting.
And I want to say your previous single, I forgot, You Ain't Got the Right.
You Ain't Got the Right.
This song really blessed me. It really blessed me because
you did mention. Thank you so
really
much.
Because I was feeling really like, down, and I couldn't sleep. And I was like, you know what, let me listen. And it's like,
wow.
I listened to it like 2,000 and 3,000, 4 times. And it's like, I feel like, wow, God was shaking me up that Miriam, you ain't got the right to just be depressed and just be down and, this lockdown thing. And it was just such a blessing. And sometimes it's not just about the voice, but it's about the spirit behind it, the person.
Definitely.
And so
definitely, it's God just had really, like kind of inspired those words, and I'm so happy to hear that you were blessed by it. Like that's the goal, to really encourage and inspire with the music, with the melody, with the lyrics, just trying to cheer people up. I said cheer. My mom says it like that. Excuse me. Cheer people, get them energized, because life can really knock people down. It's not an easy. Life is not easy at all. But if with encouragement, you can definitely make it. You can definitely win this thing called life.
Right. Well done. And where can someone, if a casting director is watching you listening to you right now, where can they, get to you?
They can get me via Instagram. Okay. I'm very active on Instagram.
Okay.
And Facebook. Yes, my Instagram handle is Omobola Okeowo, and my Facebook is Omobola Matilda Okeowo.
Oh, wow.
I decided to use my full name because I believe in it. I believe in my name. And
yes, girl.
Yeah. Do you want to know what my name means?
What does it mean?
So Omobola is a child who's met wealth.
Ooh. Nice.
Yeah, it's I believe it's a blessing, and it will really add on to me. I use that name with pride, actually. I do.
So here was Omobola, the actress who is not just a black actress, she's a black actress who can act all roles, wonderful roles, fantastic roles.
Thanks for that lovely introduction.
Thank you so much, Omobola, for your time. And you know what? Thank you for everyone who is listening.
Thank you for having me.
Who listen to our conversation on racism, on racial equality, for those who are not black, for those who are not an ethnic minority, but understand where we're coming from, understand, the plight, and understand that, we're not against anyone, but we're just talking about equality today. So thank you so much, guys, for listening to Journeys with podcast. Everyone is on a journey. Everyone has a story. Journeys with Podcast is available on Anchor, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Instagram at Journeys with Podcast. Share this episode, guys, and leave your thoughts. See you on the next episode, which you won't want to miss. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much, Bola.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.